So I highly recommend Bob Pfeiffer's Double Your Profits for any entrepreneur or anyone building a business. The section that resonated with me the most and that still presents itself in TransPerfect today is he is very much against budgets. In Pfeiffer's world, if you have a budget, people tend to spend it whether they require it or not, whether it's the best thing for the business or not. And therefore, you should just challenge people to minimize their cost, still get the job done, still build revenue, still cut costs, still make a great work environment for employees, but don't have a budget that you're going to actually, if you save money and spend less than you're supposed to, that you're going to potentially get penalized the following year because your budget is going to be less, right? So a lot of spending in corporate America could potentially be eliminated if we didn't run so strictly on budgets. And that was Pfeiffer's point, and that's a point that I hold near and dear to my heart and have used in crafting the systems for TransPerfect for over 20 years. So as a young business person, I read a book that many people have read called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And for me, the biggest takeaway out of this book was, if you think about all the activities you do in time management, and you imagine on one axis you would graph how important the activity is, and on the other graph, you would graph how urgent the activity is, right? So if you can imagine an X and Y graphic with importance and urgency. So things that are highly important and highly urgent, client projects, whatever it is, those things are going to get done, right? Things that are not important and not urgent, you probably should be paying attention to anyway. And a good way to really summarize this, if you can't visualize my XY axis here, a really good way to summarize this is you ask someone, or even ask yourself, I would be better at my job if I only had time to do more blank. And then the attitude that you should pick up is you should realize that all you should be working on is the blank, and the rest of that you're doing to get through the day is so you can get to that fill in the blank. I would be better at my job. I would be better salesperson. I would be a better client services professional if I only had time for this. Because those are the important things that are getting pushed away by the urgent things. So my biggest takeaway from Hope is Not a Strategy, which I love the name of the book, and we happen to say this all the time at TransPerfect, that hope is not a strategy, meaning you have to have a plan. But my biggest takeaway, and we were lucky enough to have Paige come and speak to us and to our sales team one year at TransPerfect in a training session. And he covered some of the book that I was particularly inspired by, which was the first thing, if you want to be successful, you have to, and you want to be more successful and more successful, you have to figure out how to solve big problems. All right, so when you're getting asked to solve a problem like a task level where someone is assigning you a task and you're kind of acting as outsourced project management for your client, okay, you're going to solve that problem, but that problem is is small on the scale of organizational problems. But if you want to basically be very successful, be a very value-added partner to your client, you have to find a way to move upstream and to be solving really, really big problems. And when you figure out how to do that, how to work with their other consultants or system integrators and solve a really big problem at an enterprise level for an enterprise client, as Paige teaches us, you are going to be recommended. You are going to be very difficult to displace because you're going to be adding a tremendous amount of value because you're solving very large enterprise problems that other people cannot solve. And perhaps his best point, and that I took out of it, is the follow-up point to that, which is it was a treetop to treetop point, meaning like if you have a CIO and you used best practice technology at your company to solve a major problem for the CIO or the CTO of a major organization, their friends are other CTOs and their peers are other CTOs and other CIOs, and they will, once you've come through for them, proven yourself, and they're an advocate for you, they will in a way take you treetop to treetop and introduce you with confidence to other CTOs and other CIOs and other senior levels at the executives at their organization who require a big problem solved. So the first thing you need to do is you get in the room, you can solve small problems, but if you want to be more successful and a true partner to your clients, you need to solve large problems. And then you need to leverage your excellent history and your reputation for being able to solve large problems to develop more client relationships. So one of my favorite business books as a young business person was Only the Paranoid Survive by Andrew Grove, the CEO of Intel. There's that kind of funny saying, like, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. So that's probably what drew me to the book at first. But many great points in that book, and I highly recommend it. I think it's applicable today. But the most important point that Grove made for me, that made an impression on me as a young business person, was that businesses need to be ready for what Grove calls a 10x change, or an inflection point. Meaning something's going to happen in your business. Technology is going to change something. There's going to be some inflection point. And you see this time and time and again over the course of history, in businesses, and it's why some businesses exist today and other businesses don't. And to be constantly thinking about, and have your management team constantly challenged to think about, like, what is the big change that likely technology is going to bring to your business, and how are you going to survive and thrive on the other side of that inflection point?